Welcome to Make Today Pay. Fred Wilson here, broadcasting with outreach to those of you who want to learn more about how to succeed, how opportunity works in relation to success, the process of achievement, and for so many who follow me, with regards to their sales endeavors in the world of sales, and in particular in real estate sales, because I have been a practicing real estate agent for 30 years running, and interestingly have averaged more than, actually statistically, one closed transaction a week that entire time. It's called the streak by some. And so I also have a coaching business, and the two kind of merge, my sales practice and my coaching practice. And I always tell people I don't preach from the podium, rather I teach from the trench. I'm that guy who's actually doing the stuff that I'm teaching. So again, welcome. And on the previous podcast, I was talking about the phenomena in sales of perpetual production. And in real estate sales, that's when one transaction leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. I called it the gold standard for success. I mean, every agent wants to know how to do another transaction, another sale, but then they want to know how to repeat that. And then they want to know how to repeat that regularly. And that's what perpetual production does. Now, perpetual production is an outgrowth of the production model. That's the model that I both teach and practice. And it has to do with four fundamentals. And of course, at theproductionmodel.com, one can really get into that. But here, today, I wanted to talk about another outgrowth or phenomena of being a production modelist. That is, someone who practices these four fundamentals. And in addition to perpetual production, there is the phenomena of spontaneous production. Now, what's that? Okay, spontaneous production. Think of spontaneous combustion. Okay, the ignition or creation of combustion without some form of friction. So it just seems to happen. I remember years ago I taught tennis with a fella who had been raised on a farm in North Dakota, and he told me all kinds of fun stories. One time a tornado whipped through and actually lifted a grain elevator and plopped it down somewhere else. Imagine the power there. And another time they had a grain elevator that exploded. And what happened was spontaneous combustion, because with I think it was corn, I can't remember, but the moisture and various things happening a certain way, and boom, explosion. But nobody lit a flame, nobody started a match. It was spontaneous combustion. Okay, so spontaneous production, kind of a sexy concept, isn't it? I mean, just imagine. It doesn't mean your production, your sales are going to explode, like, disappear. It does mean, though, that you could do a new transaction at any moment, in any situation. Wouldn't that be great? If at any moment you were, so to speak, armed and dangerous to do your next transaction. You see, when you're in sales, you want to make sales. Okay, obviously. And in real estate, we call them deals. We also call them sales, but we'll say I did a deal. I had another deal happen, where you brokered a deal in some way between a buyer and a seller. Maybe working with another agent. Sometimes you were working with both parties yourself. But the point is, a transaction happened either as a buyer or a seller, or sometimes both. Wonderful. But we want more of that. And wouldn't it be great to wake up in the morning with nothing, and seemingly out of left field, seemingly out of thin air, a deal happens. Now the problem is, when we get a phone call from a client, when we get a phone call from a client where they say, hey, I saw this great house, it's a great deal, it's right in the area that we want, can you write it up? Okay, spontaneous production? Not really. That's called good fortune, or really luck, good luck. Remember, the difference between good fortune and luck is skill. And there isn't really any skill if somebody calls you and says, let's do a deal. I take it, absolutely. But you couldn't build a career on that. And so spontaneous production is associated with skill. To the observer outside, it looks like luck or out of thin air, out of the blue, out of left field. But to the practitioner, it's based on certain key core things. And these are what the production model, these four fundamentals, really cause to happen. You see, when your mind is in the right place, how you look at things is in a high functioning capacity, and you're up at bat, so to speak. You have the chance to do business. So you're probably talking to someone at that moment, and you talk with them in a certain way. So you go from the way you're thinking to what you're doing to how you're doing it. And you make sure that you're doing that on and off throughout the day. The chances of business happening skyrocket. When your day is filled with many other things, or you're not even on duty, so to speak. I mean, one of the worst things that can happen to a real estate agent is that they uh, show up, but then leave, meaning mentally. They're, they got their license, a salesperson has their job, so to speak, but they're not really in the game. So I'm not even addressing that issue. That might be a motivational malfunction, so to speak. But when you learn to talk with people in a certain way, and you combine that with a mindset that says opportunity is anywhere at any time, you now have the chance to have a transaction happen seemingly out of nowhere. And it looks to the outsider like instant business, hence the name spontaneous production. But it's, again, the result of certain things that you're doing in a certain way. Okay, so what are those things? Well, the first is, as I said, getting your mind in the right place. And getting your mind in the right place is not always obvious, let alone perhaps easy. I have a saying, simple is physical, easy is mental. Okay. So, is this going to be a big challenge? Are you going to make it a bigger challenge than it actually is? Because getting your mind in the right place is absolutely a doable thing. And yet most people in life, and therefore most people in sales, and therefore most people even in real estate sales, their mind isn't in the right place. Now, wait a minute, hold on there, Fred. How can I make that statement? Well, I'm not saying that their mind isn't in the right place in terms of attitude. Okay, they might have a great attitude, and they might have a can-do attitude. And really, it's important to be can-do. I mean, which do you want? Can't do or can't do going around in your head? So you got to be positive. You got to be upbeat. I highly recommend optimism. I mean, which model do you want? Do you want pessimism or do you want optimism? If you're trying to succeed, which would further the cause of success more? So you got to get your mind in the right place, and you have to be positive. It's not good to be negative. You should be optimistic, not pessimistic. These things. And I'm going to give you credit for them. But in sales, they're not the difference maker at the end of the day. They're essential. They've got to be there because they're self-defeating if they're not there. The alternatives, negativity, pessimism, etc., self-defeating. So you've got to have your positivity game on. It's important to be optimistic, but you have to learn to plus that. And this is the game changer within this concept. You have to learn to become opportunative, meaning you have to learn how opportunity actually works, and then how to tap or tune into it more often, and therefore tap into it on demand, on call, so to speak. That's a power. Totally doable, but it's a skill. This is what I teach at theproductionmodel.com to people in sales, particularly real estate sales. But you could read my book, The Third Law of Success, and get a really great introduction, well, detail of how opportunity actually works because we don't understand it as individuals. Therefore, we don't know how to harness it. We think opportunity is a good thing, that more would be better, but that it's rare, it's fleeting, it's not always available. It's coming, but it may not be here now. It may not be here, but it's over there somewhere. This is what culturally our society teaches us. And it holds us back because that's, in fact, not how opportunity works. Opportunity is a phenomena. It's based on change in life. Change in life is constant. Therefore, there's always opportunity, but it depends on how you look at it. In other words, access to opportunity is on you. If you don't have any opportunity, you're not a victim, unless you call it self-victim. Yes. And once you switch that paradigm and you understand how opportunity works, game changer. You become, instead of self-victimized, you become self-victorized. You become your own answer in terms of success. So it's essential. Then you have to be talking to people, because if you're not talking to people, you're not really up to bat. And in today's technological world, we're taught all these other forms of communication. And there are so many: text, social media, email, yada, yada. But we don't really have this approach that is talking to people. So you got to make sure you're having that enough within your day. You got to pick up the phone. There's an industry saying in sales, the phone is heavy before you pick it up. Once you picked it up, it's light. But it's that getting going or getting to the doors. But once you get there, it's usually better. Again, got to be talking to people. So you got to have your mind in the right place. You got to be doing the right things, which is dominated by talking to people. And then you have to change your paradigm out of information going away from you, which we feel is very important. And culturally, we're taught to do this. Make an impression, have a good brand, marketing, being the expert, giving good advice, customer service. But that's all information going away from us. And if that's dominant, we don't have much of a chance to really identify opportunity. To identify opportunity, you have to get information coming your way. And that is a skill. That has to do with how you talk with people. So you can see the power that's starting to coalesce here. It's coming together, because if you understand that opportunity is there, not there, and you talk to people, thus giving yourself a chance to discover, get the flow of information coming your way, discover where opportunity might be under the surface, it's a whole different game for you, a whole different experience. Just like going from scarcity thinking to opportunity thinking is a game changer, going from a presentation model, information going away from you, to an investigation model, information coming towards you, total game changer. And so when you do these things together, you start to create what I call the compound element of success. Success is a compound element. You have these base elements that can't be distilled down further, that you need to bring into your model. You've got to have opportunity. You've got to have possibility. Talking to people gives you a chance to succeed today. Not talking to them takes that chance away virtually, statistically. So you got to have possibility, opportunity. Then you got to have discovery. Just talking about that. You got to get the flow of information to come your way. And when these things start to work together, oh boy, your ability to succeed is starting to rise. And then you need that fourth element, that fourth thing. There was what you're thinking, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and then actually doing it. You have to have urgency. You've got to do these things today. Don't allow tomorrow to become your dominant model. And don't fall into that self-fulfilling loop of, hey, opportunity isn't here now, but it's out there in the future. So now you spend your time today working to make tomorrow pay, and you're not in the game today. Again, 4 things. Your mind has to be in the right place concerning how opportunity works and how you approach the phenomena of opportunity. 2, you have to come up to bat more often. You got to be talking to people. That's where the action is, people. Yes, there's all this support, there's all this outreach, all this incredible stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a belly to belly or ear to ear, face to face thing. Because we're dealing with human beings here in sales. Technology is incredible. Go for it. But it's still about people. Success is still about people so often. So got to have your mind in the right place, got to be talking to people, that is doing the right things, and then how you're doing it. Operating in discovery mode. It's a whole world and totally game changing. And then you got to do it today, not tomorrow. You got to take that hall pass away, people. Got to have urgency. You actually have to do this. And if you do this each day that you're scheduled to work, and that becomes your pattern, your future is insured. And great things are going to be happening to you that otherwise would not have happened. And it's all doable. Best review I ever got. This isn't rocket science. It's rocket fuel. So I encourage you to challenge yourself in these 4 ways: what you're thinking, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and actually doing it. And transform your own approach towards success, your own approach towards achievement, your own approach towards sales, your own approach towards, in my world, real estate sales. And get out there and do what I do, which is make today pay. And I'll talk to you on my next broadcast. And I want to remind you, as always, to hit that like, subscribe, keep tuning in as we grow forwards together. Fred Wilson checking out.